Hey, what's up here? It's Phoenix Designs here, and I wanted to kind of make like an update to some of the stuff I've been working on recently. Um, posting a little bit more than I have, just kind of working on things, thinking about posting a little bit more, maybe doing another tutorial or something like that, just something interesting to do here. And so I've been working on this really crazy um, extension of this massive render type of stuff. I think for what I'm creating, it's a little bit way out of my league of me just trying to create anything and a whole bunch of stuff. There is so much going on into like basically what I've created here. um, some of the ideas and showing off a little bit of stuff is I am basically um, trying to create an interesting lab experiment that's gone wrong. And I know that from like, I don't know why I even thought about this, but there was a time when, there was like Spider-Man and Venom, and there's like this black liquid and kind of interesting stuff like that. Anything that I'm creating here has nothing to do with Spider-Man or Venom or anything, but I just felt inspired to create something, and I'm just like super bored, just trying to create some type of lab crazy render of something, and I'm thinking, it'd be really interesting to experiment with this, use some real flow. Right here around 10 seconds, this render here that I was working on, crashed. So around here, it was just kind of like, you know, things from there to there just kind of dropped out basically. I've been live streaming some of this to try to show it off on my Twitch channel, try to show off some of that, just play some EDM and hardstyle music in the background, things like that basically. So that's just like a dump render, just trying to test out, see how the render liquid would look like when I rendered it out. I wanted a little bit of viscosity and trying to see through it and cool stuff like that a little bit. I think I kind of hopefully nailed the material I was going for with that. um, I've even basically have had my computer crash with the amount of memory I'm using. I've had to increase the page file of my whole entire computer so that I have like 100 gigabytes. It doesn't show it here, but until it's actually used, it doesn't actually update here. So basically, I have a paged like 10 gigabytes in the background, basically, or something like that. Like it does say 10, then it also says 5 and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Um, but like literally, I had some crazy stuff going on. I was streaming for a long time, doing a lot of stuff. The last like time that I was I was live streaming for like about 4 hours, basically, close to that. Like maybe 3 hours and 40 minutes. I know I saw in OBS it was like 4 hours, but maybe Twitch didn't get the last 10 or 20 minutes of it. I'm not sure, but for the most part of it, like I was using like over 50 gigabytes in page file. My RAM was filled up to the brim, and it was crazy. My CPU was taxed out. All my most of my hard drives, except for my C drive, were all taxed out. Computer didn't really crash. It was like OBS and Cinema that crashed because my page file wasn't big enough. I think it maxed out at legitimately anywhere from 50 to 40 gigabytes worth of stuff. So when you only got like about 16 gigabytes of RAM at 3200 megahertz, that's not a lot. I want that goal of being able to get more RAM. Now you may not see that it may not be a lot here, but I will definitely show that there's a lot more here that meets the eye if nobody's even seen my live streams, which I don't think anybody really did or anything. What I'm doing is I'm going through making all of this very orderly and everything. I do have chords set up and things like that. Trying to work on having volumetric light come through. Trying to do like a lot of stuff in here. That's just partial of it. I got to work on not have them being right there. I gotta have them come out from there and come into the center here, and be along across the floor and everything. There's a lot of work left still to do on that part of it. 1 second here. I also modeled back behind in here down to like the small bearings, and I gotta wrap a helix around there with the gotta wrap a helix around with Reaper X. Gotta implement some of that. I'll probably use Reaper 2.0. This is where that render was that you see here. Unami I have not implemented yet into what I want to do anything with, but for the most part, when you go through in here, that renders through, and I can just check on and say I want to see RealFlow when I want to here. And I'm also trying to work on using Booleys and a whole bunch of other stuff. Using Booleys and cloners are not a fun business to be a part of. I've even set up like custom controls and using Espresso with tons of crazy stuff going on there. I might even make a really small tutorial, like less than 10 minutes, on how Xparticles works, so that somebody out there like me is able to like understand how it works and efficiently do it even at a noob stage of how it works. So I also have this control where I can say I want saying that I want to see RealFlow on or off and really cool stuff like that, for what I've gone through and had this set up pretty well. I gotta play around with a whole bunch of keys and switches and a whole bunch of crazy stuff here to get what I want on and off or whatever I need. Here I think is another part of something. There's just a lot going on here basically that I have to control and switch to turn things on and off. I have to look into things and not turn things on and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's basically another man's world of trying to know what to turn on and what to turn off, so that you can probably turn on the keys to the city basically at this point. Here it is. I found another part that I was working on modeling here too. I've already cached the RealFlow simulation, so that's all good. I just want to go back into my controls here real quick and make sure that's off. Because even though for some reason, even though you don't see it or anything like that, it still runs in the background. So it's still like a really fluid simulation here. When I do stuff, not simulation, but playback basically. I can turn that off just for a second, and I'll look here and I'll try to show off the awesome detail of trying to make metal I think I'm gonna call it like metal siding basically, with the amount of like detail I try to put into it. And like there's no texture on it, but just trying to demonstrate really decent metal siding basically, to try to like, it looks really repetitive, but I made it like really easily so that it may seem like it's a lot of polygons, but it actually kind of isn't. So it works out like really nicely and it looks really good. It looks like something that you could just put on somebody else's house or roof or something, and it looks really nice. All I had to do was use a sweep nerves and some other, not sweep nerves, but I was using a spline and I was extruding that basically. So I mean, I just made it work out like really efficiently and well, and basically I'm trying to go for like a warehouse type of idea for what I've made. So I put it on both sides. Next thing I need to do is put some I-beams, steel I-beams going through, put those through the floor and a whole bunch of stuff. Play it all out, like play it all out pretty well. All I'm doing basically with the RealFlow is just having it flow through pretty much. Right now, currently, I don't know why it's not turning on to the viewport. I'll probably look into that later. Probably another problem I need to fix. But for the most part, this is basically like playing out pretty well. I probably have so much work ahead of me and what I need to do for what I've done. I may not have a lot turned on or showing a lot here, but there's a lot in the back end that I've basically done. I'm looking into how to do volumetric lighting. I have animated the fan a little bit, just trying to show that off a little bit here. It all rotates perfectly and smoothly. It looks pretty awesome. It looks like the idea of what I'm going for, of like an abandoned warehouse, basically what I'm trying to go for. And you'd still see kind of like the wind still kind of rotating and whatever. I did stop it at like around 450 kind of, because hopefully it wouldn't really be in the render shot anymore. If it just all of a sudden stopped anyways. And we're already looking at around like 16 or 20 seconds worth of like animation over all of this that I still want to do and like set up a lot of this stuff. So there's just like a lot going on already. And I also got the animation of the logo when that comes in, and where the RealFlow is kind of making that come in. There's no animation going on between the logo of the Phoenix and the RealFlow, just to save on simulation time, and I don't want to have to deal with a lot of that stuff. So I really just want to have it like be kind of decent and not too crazy. So so far I've had to go through a lot of work here to kind of really hone in what I want to accomplish. I still need to set up cameras, still need to do a lot more work into what I really want to accomplish here, basically. But as long as you're tidy with your work, and you work on your viewport performance, and you do a really good job at optimizing what you're doing with, layering stuff, doing all that type of work, then like if you don't want to see, if you're not going to see the back of the fan, for an example, you could just go in here and just turn that all off, basically, and so it still looks pretty decent. So like if it's a different camera angle, you can just turn them off if they're not being seen anymore and not needed anymore. And there's just still like there's like so much in here that I've done to accomplish my goal to like make this work out really well. I have looked into tutorials on volumetric lighting, especially with Octane, and there was a kid that made a YouTube video that did volumetric lighting, but it was with 3.0, and it was done back in 2016. So we're in 2018, and whatever you want to call it, that type of year. So trying to accurately find the information to be able to create something that you want is kind of like really difficult, because if you can't find information of what you need, then you're kind of like, okay, I can't find the information that I need, so and now I need to ask around of other people that know what needs to happen to make that happen, basically. So yeah, I have this floor X-ray because of the RealFlow. I wanted to see where it would go, just go into the infinite universe, or it would just all of a sudden stop. I think I may later do some type of portion of where it might come out on the floor. Maybe it might break this and whatever, but that may be something that I may not fully do or anything, just because of how complex that would even be. And I've already simulated what I wanted for what I made, and simulating what I made, it took, with this whole 500 frame animation, it already took like 30 minutes just to be able to simulate on like 10 cores. And for stability purposes, I didn't want to have it be on 12 threads. So I still wanted to be able to use my computer, so I had to put it at like 10 threads, 10 cores, 10 threads, whatever you want to make it be, basically. And so there's just like a lot of stuff going on that like it's just like there's insanity going on basically at this point. So with so much going on, I wanted to sort of like have something that's complex but still doable, that I could accomplish something. And if this doesn't end up turning out well, then I think I'll just start some different render and skip this week of not really making a render, and try to find something else that I can try to accomplish that's a lot more manageable. So I'll try to show off the RealFlow mesh within Cinema here to see if I can appropriately show it off here, so somebody could get an idea of what I'm talking about here. And I'll try to use the Octane live viewer, so you can see it's rendered there basically. Just trying to turn on or show what I've done. I think we'll leave that for right now. So RAM seems to be okay. Doing Control S, saving to make sure, because some of these simulation type things can be a little bit crazy and out of hand. Okay, yeah, we do see the RealFlow stuff in here now. That's good. Well then, we got our fluid here now. Let me see how that is working. It seems to be broken again. With what's going on with the simulation, it looks all like weird and stuff. At least it's in the back, but I think I'm gonna have to work on the flow of stuff again, because I'm not liking with what's going on with it, because there's all these gaps and holes in it again. I don't know. I don't want to bore anybody. I just want to show it's pretty cool. It kind of acts like a drain for what I wanted. I'm trying to use very big particles and really cool stuff like that. Have the logo come in all kind of interesting and that type of stuff. And it kind of drains basically. As you can probably see, a lot of this stuff is it's really crazy with what's going on. You think that you have something set up one time and you're happy with it, and then you just make one change and everything just goes to hell basically, and you're just like, no, that's not what I wanted basically. So yeah, a lot of this is what I'm going through basically right now, trying to do that iterative process of enabling and disabling stuff a lot of the time. Maybe that's what it is. That was my problem right there. So yeah, there we go. We fixed that. It's bring the fluid isn't materialed for some reason. I'm not sure what I was thinking. If we show off the liquid and what's in there, I've basically made the idea of a canister and whatever. Basically, you got the liquid in there. I also have I wanted to have the material as a list, because I have a displacement and a non-displacement layer. So if I show off this displacement layer with being on the scene here, you can see it's very dark and kind of translucent a little bit from what I wanted. And so you can see how it's coming through here. I put very low samples on this, so it has a decent quick render. I also get the more desired effect of what I really wanted when I am displacing what I wanted. Excuse me there. So now that I'm displacing it and kind of accomplishing what I'm wanting with how I'm doing this here, it really starts to come out of really what I've wanted, things like that. It's really dark and crazy and kind of detailed on what I wanted basically. So you can kind of see how crazy it is, and really interesting for what I've accomplished with it. I even have problems where it wants to pop through what I'm trying to create, and the RealFlow and where it is will bulge out and over with things. So I'm just no, get back into your place where I've put you basically. And so it's just kind of like, like you gotta judge and balance with things and a whole bunch of crazy stuff basically. I was trying to use this tube to try to force and like keep it in, but it seems to like work and not work and a whole bunch of things like that basically. It's just crazy. I either gotta cut it off with a bully or not and stuff like that. So this is kind of like basically what I've been working on for like this whole week and trying to like really create something interesting and crazy basically at the same time. So I'm using X-ray and trying to amateurly, I guess, create something interesting in a way that it's just like, whoa, how much time did that person spend on that? So this is your update, and thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll have something posted on something of this soon, or maybe I'll just make another update on it to demonstrate what I'm trying to work on.